Hello, friends. Welcome back to the VectoScalar Tech Talk show. In this show, we covers the thought leaders and technical leaders that what they are doing, how industry is moving. And in the same line, today it is our pleasure to have our guest Nikhil Aggarwal, who is CEO and co-founder of VectoScalar Technologies, where he is going to cover the key points regarding the IT outsourcing to India and the opportunities and challenges around it. Welcome, Nikhil, to the show.
Thank you, Vikas. It's my pleasure to be here.
Great. So as the market is changing, Nikhil, we would like to know your thoughts that how the IT industry, especially the IT outsourcing to India, is growing.
I would say like India is the backbone for any country for the IT outsourcing and the development in terms of product development as well as the services IT companies in India are providing. And as far as you are asking about the trend of outsourcing market now, I would say that nowadays market is definitely experiencing an ongoing growth and evolution, especially after the COVID terms actually. But I would say that market is starting reshaping again based on the various factors. So one of the major factor I would say is the costing, which is the base first point I would say in any company abroad from outside India look into like considering the currency variation is the main factor, and that still is the one of the major area when the people starting outsourcing. Number two, I would say the emergence of new technology. I would say like the IT professionals in India are well versed with the new technology, and they adapt new technologies very quickly and try to learn from them, and they get hands dirty with those technologies very fast enough to make and work on it.
Yes.
Like for example, if you talk about generative AI, if you talk about Web 3.0, or any kind of new latest emerging technology, you will find the IT professionals from India who get themselves well equipped in time for delivery. So these are the two major areas I would say. And the third one is like sometimes few IT companies want to keep the core competency within their own organization, which tend to, I would say, outsource less meaningful work to the other IT companies. That doesn't mean that that is not meaningful, but sometimes it is a very short period of span when the work is identified, right? 3 months, 4 months,
Okay.
6 month type, which is not the backbone of the company, but they still have some work with a different technology to work on. So I would say these are the three major areas which are impacting outsourcing in India.
Okay, that's interesting to know. And you talked about three things: the cost measure that India is a cost effective. Second, the emerging technologies, and definitely some companies are keeping the technology to themselves. And each of these areas are very critical for IT outsourcing companies. So
Mhm.
probably we can take up each and every these steps one by one. But
Sure.
there are other countries also. Like India used to have a USP that there was a skilled workforce. It has English speaking professionals. But do you see that other countries are also coming up in the same line and posing a challenge to IT industries in India?
It always happens actually, right? So I understand that India and China are the first two companies who took up the whole not exactly 100% I would say, but the majority of outsourcing business have been to India and China only in past. But in recent times, I would say the plenty of few other companies, countries like Ukraine, Poland, I would say Philippines, Brazil, Romania, Czech Republic, like Russia, right? So many countries have started contributing to it, and you'll find the IT professionals from all around the world nowadays, right? So definitely the outsourcing has been distributed to some more extent and spread across these countries.
Okay, that's interesting because as in when more and more companies and more countries are coming, so they are definitely increasing the challenges. So what are the specially? So I understand there are bigger companies like TCS, Wipro, which are bigger clients, giants from India. They must have been having different kind of challenges. But what about the specifically small type of companies with a workforce of say 100, 500? What are the do they have similar challenges, or there are some unique challenges to the small companies?
So let's segregate this question into two parts because I would say
Okay.
IT companies who offer services like the service companies. Second category, you can categorize the product development companies, right? So
Okay.
first, I'll take the companies who develop the products. So one of the major challenges they have is the right set of competency with them. If you talk about the startup companies with less than 20, 30, or 40 people, uh, they are not able to expand their size because they face, number one, hiring issues, right? Because since they are startup, uh, they are not well known within the uh, set of people which they want to hire.
Yeah.
Number two, if they want to hire a right set of people, they are expensive to them with the right sort of experience, right? And number three, funding issues, right? So when you talk about the pro development, right? So many companies start with some funding which they have, and they have to deliver within that given milestones. So it's not exactly with all the companies, but I would say it's one of the major challenges with all the startups which who are developing the products. So like these three major, I would say, for product development startup companies with the lesser employee size, I would say.
Okay. So definitely
Yeah.
there are those unique challenges for the smaller companies, and like
Yes.
companies still have that. As a CEO and as a co-founder of the company, I think facing challenges is part and parcel of the game.
Absolutely. It's like handshaking every time with a new problem and finding a solution for it.
Right, right. That's interesting. But though it's not part of our the regular conversation, but it is always inspiring to listen to the founder story. So, what inspired you? You were having an extremely interesting experience. So, before getting into and starting up the VectoScalar Technologies, you have 18 plus of corporate experience, and with previously you have worked with companies like Aricent, HCL, Aristocrat. So, big driving force IT companies you have worked with, and you have worked on so many technologies. So, what was that spark behind that when you started the your own company?
So the spark was there from the college only, because right. So when I graduated from Hansraj College, and I got admission in Department of Computer Science, Delhi University, uh, somewhere spark was there at that time only. And joining these multinational companies at that point of time in year 2005 and so on, was the again the same plan which was then originated in my graduation and post graduation. So the agenda is to learn how the business had run, how the business is acquired from the other places, customer experiences, learning technology. Like if you name the language, right? In the experience of my 18
Yeah,
years, I would say more than 20, 30 technology plus languages I have worked on. It's a wide range that include from the finance, I would say banking, I would say automobile, I would say e-commerce, m-commerce, telecom. I guess I have worked in my organization for more than 15 industry domains, right? Which we have been still working and growing together at VectoScaler. So the spark is there when I was a student. Spark is there when I used to teach. Spark is there when I was used to an employee at these MNCs. And Spark is still there when I'm working at VectoScaler to take it to multiple folds in future.
that's interesting. So that's why probably the whenever I'm asking about the challenges, it's a smile on your face which conveys that okay, this is part and parcel of the game.
Every time somebody asks of challenges, you may not be able to put it into the words, but uh, in this tenure of my 18 or 19 years of experience, right? So I would say me at VectoScaler, not alone me, like the whole team, we are a family here, right? So we face hundreds of issues in this tenure, right? And we together as a family has resolved them and stepped up to the next challenge actually every time.
That's so interesting to know. Uh, you talked about earlier about the future technologies like generative AI, Web 3.0. So I understand bigger companies are putting creating products in that segment, but how about smaller companies? How they are taking care of these future tech?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I shared them problem challenges for the product company. So similar kind of sort of problems are there with the service company also, like the emergence of new technology every 5 years or 3 years, I would say, right? So old technologies get diminished or lesser used, right? And the new technologies get into the market. So for every employee or every IT professional, I would say reading and study is the continuous process. And a
Yeah,
company, especially the service-based company, can stay on the path and grow only when each employee, right? I would say each employee, I mean to say every employee in the organization, starting from any CXO role to the trainee role, right? Everyone has to keep learn. Everybody has to keep share and grow together. So this is again one of the vision and mission for VectoScaler, like learn, share, and grow. We religiously follow this at VectoScalar, and I strongly believe in it. If we stop learning, then again you will face another set of problems, in especially in service-based companies.
That's interesting. Learn, share, and grow, and that is a success mantra. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Now talking about resources, the for any IT company, the main thing is their quality of resources. And as we know that the kind of resources that Vectoscaler have, there are of really good quality, like really skilled professionals, and skilled professionals come for a cost. They ask for higher salaries. So in such a cost intensive market where people are looking for projects and the profit margins are going low, how do you manage this balance?
So I'll start with the word resources actually. So we used to call human being by many names, right? When we talk about IT industry, we call them
Yeah,
IT professional, we call them manpower, we call them resources, we call them staff augmentation, we call them X, Y, and Z, right? So I understand these are many terms which are used at very places, but at
yeah,
VectoScaler, we strongly believe that everybody um, uh, is a human being here. Is again, we also call them resources in terminologies at various places. And the only mantra which I would say, I won't talk much about the costing right now because it varies from the various situation, and it is
yeah.
difficult to answer considering one situation, Vikas. But the cost is not the only factor, I would say, to retain an employee at the organization. Definitely, it holds the majority of the percentage in case an employee stick to an organization. But I would say the environment and the culture which you develop in an organization, the opportunities you give them to learn and grow, right? Sometimes in an organization, the growth in 5 years, right, may seems to be limited to you. I would say, for example, and the growth within the sixth year or maybe in the eighth or 10th year, right, it is 2x or 3x of what you have been done in 5 years, right?
Okay.
Rather than the cost is again definitely, but if you sum up those cost of earnings in 10 years, I would say, right? And in 11th year or 12th year, right? It should be a multiple of the all total sum of the past earnings in the past. If it's not so, then you have missed some train in the way.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
again, you have to keep up with the latest technology. You have to keep learn, share, and grow. That is the only key that everybody can stick together and grow together. So costing is again important factor. The only way I can think of is number one, reduce the profit margins. So you can make everyone happy if you stick to lesser profit margins, I would say.
okay, okay, great, great. So important, very interesting insights that how do we manage the profit and margin and but still run the projects in a
Yes.
profitable
You
manner,
can
right?
you can
That's
have
great.
another. We are in a small segment IT company, so you can have a big sales team. So cutting employee cost is not the right way to do the things. Uh, you can increase your sales, you can expand your horizon, you can expand your geographical areas where you are covering. You can again, if in the difficult margin, difficult timings, right? So you need to cut your profit margin rather than cutting employee salaries. At VectoScalar, in last almost 11 and a half years, we never ever have cut any employees monthly salary due to any reasons, even if COVID, non-COVID, profitable, non-profitable, never ever, right? So because we are a family here, and
Yeah.
we everyone has to share it, whatever the situation is.
Oh, that's interesting. Back to scalar family, and it's important for industry to grow. We have to have that mindset of family, and good to see when you highlighted that word that about the resources. That though we are using the resources, but still they are part of the family member. They are not just resources for the company.
Yes. So I'm also a resource to start with here. I'm the first
Yeah.
resource.
First resource, that's beautiful. uh, it's a message for the to the audience that we are seeing some question in the pipeline and we'll be start taking those questions, but in case you have any question, any comment for Nikhil, and if you want to share your insight, you can type in the comment box and we'll be taking those questions and insight one by one. So right now I have one question where this is from Simple Setia. That how does VectoScaler encourage innovation among teams and leverage emerging technologies in their projects? So you did talk about that at VectoScaler we have learn, share, and grow model where we are learning the technologies continuously. But what about innovation? How we are taking care of the innovation at VectoScaler?
Okay. So I'll start with the term training, right? So the training program, any organization plan, is the key to these innovation as well as leveraging new technologies, right? VectoScaler has 5 days working, Monday to Friday, and one Saturday working. That is the first Saturday of the month, right? But we used to call it as a learning Saturday, right? So
Okay.
most of the times, I won't say 100%, most of the time, the first Saturday of the month is a learning Saturday for all. Everybody has to
Okay.
make sure that they spend 8 hours on learning on that day and make sure whatever they learn, they have to share with their own team throughout the month and learn from them also, right? So that's the one thing we encourage everyone at VectoScaler to learn. And
Okay.
we at the leadership with the senior team members at VectoScaler try to identify what all emerging technologies are there. We brainstorm them and try to assign some technologies or languages or frameworks or I would say new concept like generative AI, right? So these we assign our other members at VectoScaler and distribute the topics between them so that they. Now, as far as innovation is concerned, we encourage everyone at VectoScaler to spend some time in doing things differently. I won't say that we have scientists at VectoScaler, but we even if we do things differently, I would say that it is one kind of innovation with us.
True. True.
So we always encourage people to do the same thing with a different manner, maybe efficient or proficiently with terms of cost, money, implementation, memory space optimization, cloud cost saving, and etc. Many ways to do those things. So we encourage innovating in doing the things differently, I would say.
Okay, that's. I hope simple that answers your question. We have another question coming up, and the question is very pertinent. So I think this is one of the critical question asked by many multinationals, that then when they are outsourcing a project to India or any other country, especially the outsourcing, how how would you protect the confidential information? How would we take care of data privacy, intellectual property rights? How VectoScaler is handling this thing?
Apart from all paperwork and legal formalities, because we do all the paperwork and legal formalities as required by two countries or two companies which are dealing, right? Number one, the key to make sure the information is confidential, information is protected, there are two things I would say, which we seriously follow at VectoScaler. Number one is trust, and number two is responsibility, right? So I just remember the dialogue from the movie Spider-Man, right? The great powers comes with the great responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
So similar to it, the information whichever we share, right, is generally on the need to know basis.
Yeah.
Point number one. Point number two, whosoever is sharing and whosoever is receiving must trust each other and must understand the responsibility of keeping those information. So that is all. It's a very simple answer, I would say, like trust and responsibility.
Trust and responsibility, and how we can make especially probably the a person who is new to the company. So there is a prospective client is not aware about VectoScaler so far. So it's not just for VectoScaler, probably it's for other smaller companies as well. How they can build that trust, like how they can make sure, because it's easier said than done. Every company would say that we take care of these things, but what do you think, how a customer up for especially a foreign international customer can trust the Indian company in that part?
Again, similar to what an old proverb says, that Rome is not built in a day. Similarly, trust cannot be built in a day too. Right? So that's the first thing is to have all the legal paperwork complete and right in place. That's the first thing that we always do with all our technical partners and the tech partners with the different countries also. So that's the one thing. And by passage of time, they when they learn us, right, when they get to know about us, our other members at VectoScaler, right, they start understanding that we do not work as a two teams. We never work as two teams in any product, any project, or any service we provide. We always work as a technical arm to our tech partners, our clients, whichever form you see, tech partners, customer, client. Again, various
Yeah.
names, but the one thing.
Various names.
So we at
Yes.
VectoScaler call them like we are technical arm to those partners. So
Yeah.
an arm don't cheat another arm. So that's the thing. So again, we have to generate the trust by passage of time.
Wow, that's a beautiful that an arm does not threaten or harm the other arm. That's a beautiful saying. I think it's a good reference point. There are
Yeah.
many questions in the pipeline, but I would like to talk about one very different kind of question here. That you have been building product for others, but what about VectoScaler for themselves? Do you have you got that insight that we should build a product for ourselves for some new idea?
I immediately remember of my mother actually when you asked this question, Vikas. So before I come to your answer, technically, I would like to quote her here.
Yeah,
Uh, I'll say mothers in general at India, especially,
yeah,
right? Mothers cook for their families, right? Generally, if you ask them, okay, you are alone at home, what do you want to cook? They'll simply see some chapati and roti, and that's it. They are done. But they are cooking for the kids, or if there are other family members, they want to cook some delicious and like looking beautiful,
yes,
tasty, plenty of dishes. So
yeah,
I'm not sure if you're trying to get the idea where I'm taking it forward, right? So, but the thing is that it is when you cook for somebody and when you cook for yourself, there's a huge difference in it, right?
yes,
So let me take that analogy to technology now. Uh, Developing a product for your own needs a different size, different tech problems, or different game altogether, right?
yeah,
We are a company uh, who provide product development facilities, services to the other companies, right?
yes,
So it needs another set of funding, it needs another set of ideas, uh, different set of collaborators. So again, it's a difference in the vision. Maybe someday we will develop a product arm at VectoScaler when we gonna product. As of today, we started in this time. If I'm taking it in a different direction a bit for a minute, because we also have been developing small products in this year. I would name them as a test scaler and shop scaler, and third one is workshop scaler. You find scaler common in all these three.
yeah.
That's extension. We took it from vector scaler actually, and maybe in some other session we'll talk about those products later on. But in general, our key focus is to develop products for our tech partners only as of today. Yes.
That's interesting to know. So we have a couple of questions in the pipeline. So here is a question from Mishu, who is asking, for young professional entering the IT field, what advice do you have for them to excel in their careers and contribute to the industry growth? And there is a similar question if you want to take it up together. So there is a question from Naman: how does a person get promoted faster than their peers who started at the same time as of them? You can take them differently, or you can combine the answer.
I don't know what is happening when you are talking right now. I'm trying to, some proverbs and dialogues are popping up in my mind. So immediately I remember of Three Idiots movie. To answer these two questions, I'll correlate to Three Idiots when Ranchod Das Rancho was saying कि भाई तू सफलता के पीछे मत भाग, तू knowledge के पीछे भाग. Something like that. I don't remember the exact
Yes,
right now.
yes, yes.
But
Go
the
after the
key,
expertise and the knowledge, and success will follow.
so I would say, Naman, don't compare, first of all. Just compete to yourself. That
Hmm.
is the key, first of all. क्योंकि जब हमारे पेरेंट्स ने अभी कभी कभी कंपेयर नहीं करा, तो हम अपने आप को क्यों किसी और से कंपेयर करते हैं, राइट? इवन
Yeah.
पेरेंट्स डू नॉट कंपेयर टू चाइल्ड्स, राइट? दे हैव डिफरेंट, in a class there are 40 people, right? A teacher never compare to each other, right? I generally don't trust in the ranking system, so that's what I'm saying, so Vikas here. But
Yeah.
ranking is there, that's a bitter part of the system. But I would say you should never compare to others. So your promotion getting faster with the peers is actually the wrong question here. You should say, how can I beat myself? How can I grow better with comparison to myself as of yesterday? The only answer is to keep learning, sharing, and growing. That's the only key, right? And similarly, I would say like everyone can only do better in their jobs if they learn and grow better. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. If you compare, you may get better results, but again, the other person starting doing better than you will start doing better. This race is never ending. Race with
Great.
yourself.
Great, great. And I think if you would like to cover one point that Mishu wanted to cover, that how we can
Stronger.
contribute to the industry growth as well.
One of the major point where IT industry in India is lacking is contribution to the open source. I still think the same from 20 years back when I was in my post graduation. but still I'm also part of those people actually. I'm not differing it. So you, if you want to contribute to the industry growth, you need to write up maybe some papers, some articles. Maybe you can put up your source code in the open source when you write down for your own, right? That's one thing. And if you want to excel, the only key is, again, make sure you spend at least half an hour daily on learning, right? In a week, spend 4 hours at least, or 5 hours in a week. Decide your own target, your own pace. You can only keep challenging yourself and grow, excel in the career if you learn. Do certification courses, right? Talk to each other, brainstorm, do things differently. That's the only way, I would say.
Thanks for sharing that insight, Nikhil. And before moving to the next question, I think there is a commendation coming from Vishal Chaudhary. All the best, Vikas sir, Nikhil sir, for VectoScalar. Enjoying
Yes.
your conversation. So, team, in case others who are watching, in case you have commendation like that, do share those commendation. And also, if you have any specific question for Nikhil, basically he is representing the IT industry, especially the small scale IT industries where people are doing differently. There are different games for the bigger IT industries, but especially for companies which have built from the scratch and built to the level of 100 people, 200 engineers, and maintaining that itself requires certain type of entrepreneurial energy to build into the system. So thanks for that. We have let me take the next question, which is from Rishit. As per your opinion, whether young aspirants should choose their product based company or service based company to excel in their career?
So to start with, actually, these are kind of choices, right? Because
Yeah.
and how many engineers India is producing every year is a huge number. I don't quote the number here, but
Yeah.
you understand the number is quite high. So
Yes.
Rishit, basically, not everyone has a choice. To start your answer, being very honest, and I may sound rude here, actually, Vikas here, but
Yeah.
not everyone has a choice to choose that thing. Number two, it depends on a person to person, the kind of insights and the skill set they have, right? A person who is doing very well in services may not be the right fit for a product-based company, right? It's not a very objective question. I would say one, two, three are the traits, and that's it. No, it will have a proper examination, proper interview process where you can actually identify whether the person is right fit for the product or the service-based company. But again, the one thing which is common in both, technical excellence. The level of technical excellence is the major first important parameter which you can use to prepare yourself for a product based company. If you're not excel enough, then definitely you are not built for product based company. That
That's
for sure.
that's interesting observation, and probably for a company like VectoScalar, on the paper they are a service company, but at the heart, for the especially for the engineering, they are a product company because at the end of
We
the day they are building the
have
product.
we have a very long hiring process, I would say, because like a written exam we generally conduct with the freshers, and then 2 or 3 rounds of interviews, right? That conduct evaluation of their technical expertise, as well as the very important thing which we always keep in the hiring at VectoScaler is uh, how you work as a team, right? You should be able to work as a team, because every time you have to be part of the team. You are not a single lone runner. A
Yeah,
lone runner cannot be the right fit for both of product and service based companies, especially in IT.
that's interesting to know. So in between, we are getting one another question regarding the quality assurance certification. So do you believe in quality assurance certification? Do Is VectoScalar having any certification?
We have ISO certification because here with at VectoScaler, but there are our company does not need any quality assurance certification as of now, because what we is we give assurance to our tech partners for the code we develop, right? So we ensure that the code is well secure enough, and especially for VAPT, like vulnerability and penetration testing for all the source code we write on front end and back end. And I would say whichever VAPT analysis has been done for our code in past, more than 95% success rate is there. And the 5% that cover only one or two critical issues, or a couple of minor issues only. So that
Yes.
is the code quality we deliver at VectoScaler is A plus category, I would say. So yeah.
Okay, thanks. We have another question, which is again pointing to the similar, the employee growth and company growth. But if you like to answer it differently, how can an employee? So Khushbu is asking, how can an employee help herself and company to grow together?
Okay, that's interesting question. The first thing is to you have to align your interest and the interest of the organization, right? And one thing which I always tell senior folks at Vector Scaler कि यार तुम खुद लर्न करके ग्रो करोगे तो कंपनी अपने आप ग्रो कर जाएगी. So the growth of the company is directly proportional to growth of every employee at the organization. That's the mantra at Vector Scale. Right? We help them to do better code every day. We help them to understand and project the progress of their own project and the product development cycles. So if employee grows at any organization, there is no way that a company is not growing. So company growth is directly proportional to the growth of all employees at the organization.
That's interesting. That's an interesting and important insight. And I think in the same regard, we are getting a commendation, probably somebody who's knowing you from the past. Kudos to Nikhil. I've witnessed his journey from single-handedly working and scaling VectoScalar. He's very sharp in understanding technical, non-technical problems at hand and provide varied solution with pros and cons. Good to see him growing. So
Thank you.
this person must be knowing you for since long.
He's the first one.
That's interesting. Now we have getting another question, as we talked about the challenges of the IT industry, but here we are talking about the challenges of you as a CEO. So
So I used to tell the team here, especially my HR team, आईपीएल में होता है ना ऑरेंज हैट, पर्पल हैट, रेड हैट. सो
yes,
मेरे पास भी बहुत सारी हैट्स हैं.
yeah,
One of the hat is CEO hat, which I wear when we generally has to do only jobs which a CEO has to do. Most of the times, I'm mostly wearing an employee hat only, where I used to work exactly like another peer employee in my organization. So, Bhavna, the first major challenge at CEO is to keep everyone together, right? Like the head of the family, I would say. I'm not old enough to comment anything about the families in India to how to keep together since my father is doing that job at home. बट आई वुड से दैट कंपनी को साथ रखने के लिए ना उतना ही इंपॉर्टेंट है कि कंपनी को आप फैमिली समझो. जिस तरीके से एक परिवार साथ रहता है उसी तरीके से कंपनी साथ रहती है, राइट? सो यू हैव टू बी इन द हेड ऑफ द फैमिली शूज टू अंडरस्टैंड दोस. नंबर वन. जैसे परिवार में झगड़े होते हैं, परिवार अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं होता समटाइम्स, बिकॉज सिमिलरली एम्प्लॉय हैव डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ डिससेटिस्फेक्शन at
yeah,
many point of the times, right? So you have to understand, you have to put yourself in their shoes to understand this. Similarly, customer की भी अलग level of challenges आते हैं. So again, you have to put yourself in customer shoes to understand and view their angle of the problem. So uh, I have faced plenty of challenges. The challenges with respect to the concerns from various employees, concerns from various customers on deliverables, timings, costing, I would say again, right? And so all challenges has been resolved with the help of the team. I could not have done it if I do not have such a great team at Vector.
thanks for sharing that. Teamwork is definitely the key thing, and I think
Is the
that
key.
shows that no one is sharing a commendation. That thanks for your insight for the question. We have next question coming. There are a couple of questions in the pipeline, so probably in the paucity of time we'll see. But let's see if we can get the maximum outcome of Nikhil's time that we are getting this time. So Akhilesh Antwal is asking, how can we motivate ourselves and maintain enthusiasm while working?
Okay. Set your own goals, Akhilesh, right? Set your own goals for a week, for a month, and try to achieve them. And if you are not able to achieve, then try to find out why you are not able to achieve your own goals in that defined period of time. Right? If you are able to achieve, set higher goals next time and keep motivated yourself to attain your own goals. Define your own goals and meet them. That's it. Nothing else. कुछ ज़्यादा बड़ा फंडा नहीं है.
That's beautiful. Define your goals and achieve them.
Maybe weekly, fortnight, or a month, based on your own plan. Make your own plan and abide it. That's it. And if you cannot,
That's
then identify why you could not and make it better next time.
Yeah, and definitely one, if there is a problem in finding the goals and defining the goals, one can take help from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
mentors. Yes.
Yes. So in VectoScaler, everyone is available all the times. Even the people who are working from work from home, they are always available over the video communications and chat communications in the company tools, right? And especially like we use Google's workspace for it. So Google has been providing plenty of good tools to communicate between all of us via documentation, video calls, Google Meet, Google Chat, etc. So we are all available. Everyone is reachable, including me, uh, uh, and all the employees are always reachable for their problems. One important and beautiful thing we have done at VectoScaler, because we have a group on the Google Chat that is called "How can I help? How can we help?" So if you face any
That's
problem,
interesting.
just post a message here, and I'm sure you will get more than 10 replies within a minute.
That's
Whosoever is
interesting.
working at that time. So everyone is eager to help each other at that point. So asking help, you should never ashamed.
Yeah.
Never think twice before asking for help. Ask for help and help each other. That's it.
Okay, that's interesting. And before this show, when we shared that we are going to have this show, I received a question from a company, the CEO of a company where their current company size is less than 10 people, and so they wanted to ask, because you are at the next level for them, right? So what are the challenges and how one can grow from 10 to say around 150 plus? Like what is one thing that they can do?
So because basically the thing is that headcount is not the parameter of success to start with,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So again, if you are planning to increase the headcount, you have to increase the revenue, or you have to increase the pocket size to make sure your bench is never suffered. That's the
Yeah.
one thing. So you have to make sure your sales pipeline is rich enough to attain those headcount, or your bank balance should be enough to make sure that you need not to fire based on the revenue concerns, which many of IT companies has done this year, but which has never
Yes.
happened at VectoScaler. We always ensure that whosoever is making sure that they are working as per the meeting
Right.
expectations at the technology level, learning level,
Yeah.
right? So that's the only thing I would say, right? So you have to ensure that your sales pipeline is good enough to before you increase the headcount.
That's interesting. It's not about the growth is not just about the increasing the headcount. It may become an overhead also if not planned properly.
Exactly. Yes.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing that. We have another question coming from Ashwarya Dogra. Whether in the IT or non-IT field, what advice would you like to offer to a young professional for accomplishing tasks efficiently without wasting time?
Checklist. Make your own
Checklist.
checklist for the task, and in case if a task is recurring every time with you, you can make down the steps to do it,
Okay.
right? Nowadays हमारे जो फूड हैबिट्स है बहुत खराब है, तो हमारी बॉडी के साथ साथ वो ब्रेन को भी इम्पैक्ट करता है विकास.
Yeah.
uh, the sharpness of the mind is a little bit diminished by passage of time. In
True.
the human, I would say the human race में ही हो गया वो. So the only
Yes.
thing to challenge is to put a checklist with you, and also the steps to perform a task. If you have a predefined to perform a task which is recurring in your job nature, you can do very efficiently if you have a task steps with you, and make sure that you have a checklist with you. So that can help you do task efficiently without wasting any time.
Okay.
And
So
again,
checklist is the key. Yes.
yes, and one thing to add on here is if you are facing a problem, you define your own time for research, right? Let's say one task you are not able to do for a minute, any task.
Yeah.
Define your own time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 day, 2 day. But after that time, do not keep struggling in the mess. Ask for help, right? So
Yeah.
asking help is not a shame. Right, right. In any situation, asking for help with your peers is in the favor of growth of organization.
That's interesting. So that's how. So asking for help when required, and before that, making a checklist. That's a key to work efficiently without wasting the time. Thanks for sharing that. We have a couple of questions in the pipeline. We will see that how much we can take up in this short period of time. So Mahima Jindal is asking, when outsourcing, definitely we talked about this earlier as well, that security and confidentiality of your product may be at risk. So at least from the point of the client, they might be wondering, there would be still some client who may want to build their own workforce, own engineering team instead of outsourcing to other company. And you must have had multiple those conversation with clients. So what's your say on that?
So again, to cater those situations, even at VectoScaler also, The first thing is you need to make sure that all legal formalities are done, because
Yeah.
that is the only thing you everyone has to do. Driving करने से पहले license बनाते हैं,
Yeah.
तो license is the permit to drive. Similarly, if you sign a contract, if I sign a contract as a on behalf of VectoScaler, every employee at VectoScaler has signed a non-disclosure agreement, which is applicable to all the clients. And everyone is well aware by small messages or training programs at VectoScaler that at the kickoff of all the programs, we remind everyone whosoever is working in the project that all the information pertaining to the project is very confidential, at least till the project is being launched into the market. And you can only share the information which is publicly available, not available in the VectoScaler office. So that's the very key thing we have been following from the day one when VectoScaler has been founded. And
Okay.
outsourcing, even I would say, Mahima, that even if you're not even outsourcing, if you're developing a product, this is the same challenge within the same organization also,
Yes.
right? So outsourcing security and confidentiality is not only for the company which are outsourcing their ideas to other, but within the same company, within the same set of employees also. So again, employee also needs to make sure that they keep the trust and they held themselves responsible before sharing any piece of information with anyone. We really take it very seriously at VectoScaler, and every employee understand the sense of responsibility and maintain their trust with their clients.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. We have another question coming from Kritika Rana. What are the emerging technologies a person should focus on to grow in the IT industries? We talked about emerging the AI part and the Web 3.0. Any other technology that one should focus on?
So again, the AI is umbrella because so there are plenty of things. One of those is
Yeah.
prompt engineering, with the generative AI combination. Even Web3 has been a huge thing. Like that includes the data sciences, big data, the analysis information, and the plenty of other services. So the technology keep emerging every 6 months or a year. So I would say a person from IT, first of all, they have to decide their own goal in the life, as I mentioned earlier. ऐसा नहीं है कि आज एक नई टेक्नोलॉजी आई वो लर्न करने बैठ गए फिर कल दूसरी परसों तीसरी सो you have to define your own path of the growth in the life, and then you have to see whether which emerging technology is the right fit for you to learn. If there are 100, you cannot learn 100 technologies, right? So
Right.
you have to make a choice. And even as a company at VectoScaler, right, we always choose the emerging technology as per our goals and technical set we have.
Right, right. That's a beautiful answer. And while I was writing my second book and I was doing the research, I found another answer to this. Probably that can be an additional information to this. That there are something called fundamentals, and then there are changing technology. So once the fundamentals are clear, that changing and getting into the newer technology is easier. So for people who are strong on one programming language, learning new programming language is additive. But person who has not built the fundamentals, learning every new programming language is an overhead for them. So
So I used to say a line here at VectoScaler because in my conversation with even with our tech partners as well as my other peers at VectoScaler, like programming language is not a barrier for us. So when I say, I mean a developer who is proficient in Java programming at VectoScaler, he or she is always able to work on either C++, JavaScript, Node, React Native, C Sharp, ASP.NET, you name it. I don't say that overnight, but I would say in a span of 1 week, 2 week, or 3 week based on the technical expertise is required. But the basic fundamentals and the skill set required for a program or a module to work, we possess all of them.
great, great. Thanks for sharing that. Now, Shreya Kalra is asking a very particular question: that how is Vector Scalar different in terms of executing MVP, minimum viable product, for their customer? Because when customers are not able to execute their minimum viable product in 2 months, how Vector Scalar is able to do that in such a short period of time?
So I'll talk about one of the latest projects we acquired. Again, I cannot name it here because of the
Yeah.
confidentiality we have. Once
Yes.
it is launched, maybe we'll share this more information publicly.
Sure.
That project has been tried by a couple of other IT companies for 2 years, and they were not able to finish it. Right? Um, we ensure to push back even the customers to define their MVP for less than 10 weeks or maximum 12
Okay.
weeks, I would say. When we say MVP, we have a hard bound of 12 weeks line. If you are not developing a product and if you cannot reduce the scope of development, which can be accomplished in 12 weeks, then you are stepping ahead for a failure. That is what I personally feel. So that is the
Okay.
first thing that you have to bound yourself. Everyone has a big dreams कि मैं ये भी बना लूंगा वो भी बना लूंगा ये भी कर लूंगा वो भी कर लूंगा, but if you cannot restrict yourself to a limited MVP version, then that's a failure to start with, I would say. So the first
Okay.
thing is to limit yourself. You
Okay.
can be limitless, but you have to start with a limit. That's one thing. Number two, we restrain from the range of 8 weeks to 12 weeks. Number three, we put up a team who is well and proficient enough to make sure the quality is not compromised during the pace of accomplishing this task of MVP. So I
That's
guess
good.
these are the few things which where the vector scalar is uh, doing better, or I won't say better. I won't compare again. So where the vector scalar is differentiating itself from others.
And probably these are the things which other companies can also adopt. This is how the industry grow, that one company learning the best practices of other company and how they can grow in further. There are a couple of questions more, but I'll take just last one question, because again probably it is coming taking us back to where we started. Harshit Goyal is asking what has made India a preferred destination for IT outsourcing. So you talked about skilled workforce, you talked about cost effectiveness, but anything new for Harshit?
I'll put, first of all, I'll put India and China here, not only India. And the answer we hold, I would say 30, 35 years back when it was started. The one of the reason is the expertise we hold, right? We Indians are very sharp in learning and quickly learning and ensuring that we are always at par in the technology. And we have demonstrated from any multinational organization. If you call about to start with, if you name any big giants, IT companies or even non-IT companies, Indians are sitting at all the places around the world. So India is the preferred destination for each and every business in the world, I would say. To start with Sundar Pichai at Google, even if you talk about Mr. Nadella at Microsoft, even you talk about the Prime Minister at UK, or blah 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 at all the places, you'll find the Indians are always the first preference.
Yeah.
Even actually, I think so.
So probably a message for upcoming Independence Day, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी.
ये दिल हमेशा है हिंदुस्तानी.
Great, great. Thanks, Nikhil, for answering so many questions. I think this is the last one question just came to my mind. We talked about generative AI, Web 3.0. What is Nikhil 3.0? So Nikhil 1.0 was doing job in those multinationals. Nikhil 2.0 founding VectoScalar and taking to such a great height. What is Nikhil 3.0?
uh, Maybe I'll start spending more time with my family because uh, during this last tenure at Vector Scalar, I guess the one who has suffered a lot is my family, right? Because
I
I've been spending huge time, even at office or at work, working for the company only. So maybe whenever Nickel 3.0 will happen, I'll start spending more and more time with my family. There's one message I would like to convey to all the viewers here.
Yeah.
Uh, Happy Independence Day, and make sure that is this independence, uh, you'll get independent of yourself and your thoughts, and keep start learning, sharing, and growing among your peers and friends.
So thanks, Nikhil. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for your time. And yeah, okay, thanks. So, guys, you must have been got really good insight from Nikhil Aggarwal, where he shared that how IT industry is growing and what are the things that are happening. Just to give you a quick information about VectoScalar Technologies, VectoScalar Technology is a technology pioneer serving large enterprises to startups and helping them achieve business growth by enabling digital transformation in the space of web development, mobile development, software development, legacy app modernization, cloud consulting, and many more. The team at VectoScalar has expertise in managing enterprise applications with millions of users, from ideation to MVP to launch. Established in 2012, the company today has 100 plus enterprise grade engineers and architects, and the company serve across the globe and had a pleasure of having great clients like Google, SimSim, Kickdrum, CoinSwitch, Daily Hemp, Scriptboss, Car Deco, Versata, and many more. And for the VectoScalar Tech Talk, keep joining our future sessions. And if you think that you have something great and you also want to be on the show as a tech leader, want to share some tech insight, do send us the information on the LinkedIn, contact us, and we'll be glad to having you on our next show. With that, thanks for joining, and bye bye. Have a nice day ahead. Keep doing great.